Joining us right now is Senator David Perdue, a member of the Budget, Banking, and Armed Services Committees. Senator, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. Give us the latest here. We will see her testify on Thursday. Do you expect you could have a vote soon after?
Yeah, the latest is that this morning we think that Dr. Ford will be here Thursday. We know Judge Kavanaugh is ready to go Thursday. The committee will hear both sides independently, and then I think we could move directly to a vote in committee and take it to the floor potentially if we get it out of committee, which I hope we will.
Do you think you have the votes in the committee to actually get him confirmed?
Well, it depends on the outcome of the hearing, but yes, I think we do, and this is what's at stake here. The presumption of innocence is a cornerstone of our judicial system. And unfortunately here we have undocumented, uncorroborated evidence here that is pretty much indicting this person in the eye of public opinion. So we need to move on to this and get this vote done.
It's quite extraordinary that we're actually debating, Hugo, due process.
Yeah, it is extraordinary that the judge seems to be presumed guilty by the Democrats until he can prove his innocence. And of course it's terribly difficult to prove your innocence on a negative. It's terribly difficult to prove it when you haven't got a date, you haven't got a place, you haven't even possibly got a year. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Senator, is it seems that no matter what question arises, the Democratic answer is to delay. Is this entirely political? They just want to push it past the midterms?
Well, they certainly politicized it. I mean, they held the letter, first of all, for weeks. This didn't come to the committee, which is the normal protocol. In instances like this in history, that's what's happened. That's the right way to do it. This went to the media directly. Actually, it was leaked by one of the senators on the Democratic side. So yes, Schumer said he would do anything in his power to get this guy unconfirmed. And so a delay
is... He said that even before any of this.
And just last week he said that no matter what, he believes this lady. He hasn't heard 1 minute of testimony. He's already made his decision. Actually, he would be removed if this were a jury and he was being chosen as a juror.
Even the New York Times said they couldn't publish the story of the second accuser because they couldn't find anybody to corroborate the story.
Right. But I think we have to be very careful. And I think Senator Grassley has done a fantastic job of making sure that this accuser, Dr. Ford, gets her moment. And we should do that. Let's hear her out. But let's do what we should do and let Kavanaugh come in and give his side too and then move to a vote. The American people demand that.
And Chairman Grassley wrote a letter to Dr. Ford reading in part this: "It's important to me that you personally know how sincere and thorough this effort has been, including my commitment to make sure committee members and other senators are able to hear directly from you." So you say he's handled this very well. John.
Well, I want to ask you what's at stake here politically. We talk a lot about the judge's reputation, but we have the midterm elections coming up. How do the midterms play out if the judge is confirmed, and what happens if he's not?
Well, the Republican base is inflamed right now. They want this president's agenda executed. They believe that he was elected to do three things: grow the economy, rebalance our courts, and secure our borders. The economy is growing at twice the rate as it did under Obama. We have confirmed 68 federal judges. That's historic. 1 out of every 7 federal judges now has been confirmed under President Trump. The thing that's being held up right now is border security. And this thing with Kavanaugh hits the base out there at the very time when they're really unnerved that we're not getting this agenda done in full.
Yeah, let me bring in Dagan McDowell in New York, because she also is looking at this letter and has some thoughts. Dagan, over to you.
Well, it's in particular a letter that Christine Blasey Ford wrote to Senator Grassley. It was dated over the weekend on September 22nd. It was released yesterday with her consent as to make it part of the public record. And in this letter to Senator Grassley, and this is what is very telling about what the Democrats are doing to this woman to further their own agenda. She writes that when she first learned that Brett Kavanaugh was on the short list of nominees, this is prior to the president's selection for him as the nominee to the Supreme Court, she contacted her Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, a Democrat, and she wanted to remain confidential. She felt like it was her duty to report what she alleges happened to her in a confidential manner. She said, "I was able to share my information with 2 contacts during that period." She thought that the knowledge of Kavanaugh's actions could be useful in choosing among the various candidates.
This was before the pick. Before the pick.
This is before the pick. And she keeps saying, "And then I took the step of sending a confidential letter to one of my senators, Senator Dianne Feinstein." But what happened to her confidentiality? Her name was leaked. Why weren't these allegations passed on to everybody, even all the way up to the White House before Brett Kavanaugh was selected? But instead, her name is leaked. So to make my point clear, the Democrats have used this woman. They have not respected her privacy. They have violated that privacy to further their own agenda. They have used this woman as a battering ram in a political ambush.
They try to make believe that they are all in and all supportive of women, and look at the way they threw her under the bus, Senator. Now she had to hire security, and she says her family is living in different places.
Well, look, everybody in this situation is being harmed. Can you imagine that 13-year-old daughter of Judge Kavanaugh going through this with his father? I mean, this is outrageous. But again, he's been indicted in the eye of public opinion here, and I want him to have a moment to give his side. He's been categorically consistent in denying that this ever happened, or that either one of these instances happened. It's time for the Senate to do its job in advise and consent, get this vote done, get the hearing done, and let's move on.
And then there's Rod Rosenstein. Got to get your comment on this. He's going to be meeting with the president this Thursday. All the chaos swirling around his future with the White House. President Trump commented on the upcoming meeting while he was at the UN. But what's your take in terms of Rosenstein right now?
Well,
Should he be fired?
If he did this is outrageous from a professional standpoint. Nobody in the real world would put up with that. And we'll get to the bottom of it after this meeting. I applaud the president for having this face-to-face this week, and I look forward to getting the outcome of that. But I trust the president to make the right decision.
But, I mean, is there still a deep state within the White House and government that's against this president?
This is what happens, and this is what his frustration is right now. There are a lot of never-Trumpers, frankly, in the White House.
What about in Congress?
In Congress, absolutely. In fact, this town does not understand how President Trump got elected. As a matter of fact, they don't understand how I got elected. This president got elected because people were fed up with the dysfunction of Washington, the fact that they weren't getting anything done. This president's getting things done. His agenda is working.
Yeah, but will the agenda get stopped after November if the House flips?
Well, we'll be talking about impeachment for 2 years. That's what Nancy Pelosi has already said. That doesn't do the American people justice.
Senator, it's good to have you on the program.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Senator David Perdue there. Coming up.